Well, good evening, my listeners, viewers, wherever you're joining us from. Is me, man, Mr. B. And this evening, there's a topic that I really want to pick up on. I think, as the moot itself stated in the cover flyer, is it that we have allowed bigotry and racism to creep into and take up active occupancy in the Jamaican space? This is the Jamaica Mix. Let me just, for those of you who are not aware of the program, the Jamaica Mix, and this program we play some music sometimes, but today we're not going to run the music because there's a topic that I really want to field, that I believe is a crucial subject from as far as Jamaica is concerned, and I really wanna take this thing, to a level where we have a serious discussion on the issue of racism and bigotry as it relates to the Jamaican society. Now, for those who don't know, and even if you're new and you may have forgotten, the Jamaican motto, you may disagree with it, but the motto that we all come up under as Jamaicans is out of many, one people. I remember my own daughter some years ago, more than, when was it, 2012, they released this program, the video program called One People, where it's a 2-hour tape which traced the Jamaicans and the status over the more than 50 years at the time of our independent existence. Groundbreaking piece of cinematography. It was a great documentary that looked at Jamaicans and from all shades, all walks of the Jamaican space life, and how they impacted the development of our country, our island, over the period. And so, in our own misguided ways, we have allowed that situation some degree of changes, if you will, in respect of that, as we have allowed the whims and fancies of someone in the political class to color this phenomenal motto of ours, out of many, one people. And what am I talking about? There's an article in the Gleaner, the Jamaican Gleaner, dated November 26th, that was published on Tuesday, November 26th, where Dr. Michael Abrams, a Facebook friend of mine, everybody in from the Jamaican space who understand Michael, doubles in not only as a medical doctor, but has developed a solid reputation as a commentator, social commentator. He's not a political commentator. Yes, some of the times is like myself. The issues he raises are political because they are important, and so he writes from time to time, and has the good fortune of being able to be published in the Gleaner. And so an article that he wrote in that was published in the Gleaner of Tuesday, yesterday, seriously caught my eye. And it is a topic that I have addressed on different occasions. But when a man of the stature and the ilk of Dr. Michael Abrams, and I'm giving him full title, takes this on, it tells you that it is important. And so from that perspective, I want to use the article, for the kind of discussion that I want us to have this evening. And I'm going to invite those of you, if you're on Facebook, if you're watching on the website, to chime in, because it is an issue that I'd really love to get feedback from Jamaicans on. Now, what is this about? Michael Abrams has taken time to pen an article that speaks to the Jamaica Labour Party's normalization of racial prejudice and bigotry in Jamaica. And why is he saying this? Because over the past 5 or 6 years that the JLP has been in office, remember, this is the governing political party. They have basically taken a shine onto the Jamaica's elected leader of the opposition, Mark Golding. Now, let me make it clear. I hold absolutely zero brief for either Mark Golding or Andrew Holness, right? I am first and foremost a Jamaican, right? And that take precedent over anything else. My blackness is secondary. I am first and foremost a Jamaican. And so any individual who is born in Jamaica, regardless of what your origin is, whether you're born in Jamaica, you have decided to make Jamaica your home because you come from somewhere else, and you have taken on the Jamaican citizenship, you have a right to belong in the country. And, Mark Jefferson Golding is one of those persons. Now, Golding, let's be clear. Born of a British appearance of British origin. I think his mother had some Jamaican lineage, but born in England. And his father, Professor, the Honorable Sir John Golding, whose contribution to the development of medicine in Jamaica is unparalleled. And so himself, John Golding, Professor Golding, and his wife came to Jamaica, set up shop in Jamaica in the 1950s, when they could have gone anywhere else in the world. They came to Jamaica and they decided to settle there. And Golding practicing his orthopedic, developed a solid orthopedic practice, and in time they had a son, Mark Golding, born in Kingston, Jamaica, at the University Hospital of the West Indies, right? And went to school there, also went to school overseas in England. As to all of that, not as particularly significant. No, the man, by his skin coloration, is a Caucasian in terms of his racial extract. But as far as his birthplace is concerned, he was born in Jamaica and is every bit a Jamaican as anyone away from anywhere else. Now, let me level the table, because back in the 1970s, right? And we can go even further back. In the 1950s, one Edward Philip George Seaga, right, came into the social and political life of Jamaicans when, after finishing school, I think he born overseas, Boston, if I remember correctly, and went to school back in the United States, but came to Jamaica, where he decided over time to settle. Seaga, being a man of Lebanese extraction. Jamaica people still refer to them man there as white people, right? So Siaga is a white, and let me be honest, because the in the time of the 1970s, Siaga was the victim of a similar racial vitriol, but although not as aggressive as what I'm now seeing happening with respect to Golden. And so, but Siaga was a victim. Now Siaga dead and gone quite a bit of time. Siaga left gave up his political life. You know, some at least 5-7 years before his departure from public life and departure from life, and decided to, you know, to basically spend the rest of his days on the cusp of the Jamaican society. You know, brown man, a Lebanese man, and a man who cut his teeth in Jamaican politics. And yes, the PNP and PNP supporters chided him about his Lebanese extraction. In fact, there was a song, My Leader Barney, that was coined, that raised up in the mid-1970s, to you know, was basically poking a dig at Siaga at the time. Now, the period of the 1970s and the tumultuous way in which we practiced our politics, right, then led to a kind of decadent divide of the country, where Jamaicans were basically pitted against each other. Yes, you know, and at the same time, the leader of the People's National Party was Michael Norman Manley, himself another brown-skinned man. So, you know, in essence, one could say that Jamaica, whether sociologically or otherwise, seemed to have fell in love with being led by individuals of a particular hue. That is just a sociological fact, because Bustamante himself was also a brown-skinned man. When Shearer took over after the death of Donald Sangster and led the JLP, he was chided as basically not belonging. But, you know, that notwithstanding, he served as prime minister until the 1972, when he was defeated by the brown man, Michael Manley, over which time Siaga basically took the reins of the JLP, but was never afforded the opportunity to lead the party until the 1980, the tumultuous 1980 election. So this race issue has always been on the skirting the politics. You know, Jamaica as a country, in terms of its population, 92% of the Jamaican population are black people like myself, right? And so the argument about being led by a white man, that has now started to float into the public space, and is led by none other than now the you know, sitting parliamentarians from the Jamaica Labour Party. And one would think that, you know, we given the history that Jamaica has, given our history of penchant for violence, that every effort would have been made to decry this creeping bigotry that is coming into the discussion space. And so let me think. It's as Michael Abrams says, I'm going to give him title, Dr. Michael Abrams. It is unfortunate that the governing party of this country, the Jamaica Labour Party, has chosen to normalize racial prejudice and bigotry. Its primary purveyor of prejudicial political pronouncement, Member of Parliament Everald Warmington, as well as fellow MP Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, have been repeatedly given a pass to utter racially divisive remarks aimed at the leader of the People's National Party, PNP, Mark Golding. Now, let me go further, because the first time I picked this up would have been about 4 or 5 years ago, when, Golding had basically taken the reins of the party. The party get them ass cut at the election, and over time, Peter Phillips had to throw in the towel and flash. And so, as a consequence, the party too had its own misgivings, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, similar to the JLP in those years of the 1980s, late 80s, 1990s. Self-inflicted wounds where the divisiveness, the fight against each other, and so on and so forth. And so, but out of the flagellation that come from that, out of the fire that Golding's taking of the reins of the PNP was forged. And so the people in Jamaica vote for him. The PNP delegates voted for him, and he became the leader of the opposition. And there was an attempt, in my opinion, to sort of use this epithet, this race epithet, to sort of press him down, right? Because, the PNP not really say nothing at the time. Them not have money. 2 men and a dog have a seat in the parliament, considering where them come from, right? And so you have 63 seats. The PNP must have about 13 or 14, if as much. And things now go on good for them. The JLP, they're on a high. And essentially, nothing wrong. You put pressure upon your opposition. But the race thing becomes a troubling issue in a country like Jamaica. Because let me put it to you, enough of the people in Jamaica are idiot. Them dunce. Them not have the ability to process nothing, right? And you have some people who stupid enough that listening to these epithets being bandied about by significant members of the governing party in its political leadership cohort, making these commentaries, and then it almost want to say, yeah, give them license for do all kind of crap, because that is the nature of the stupidity of too many Jamaicans. Remember, this is a country where we are killed 1,300 of one another every year, right? 13. We know it's not that we had war, We just 2 men have a little argument, and I play domino, and one will give the other one 6 love, or and beat down the domino too hard, and a common thing for jump over the table, take out his knife and bust the man throat. Or your man run go to the yard for a gun and bam thing. In fact, I must say yesterday, them had a big shooting in a Walton Park with 5 people dead. Because we're stupid. We have a people who are stupid, and these politicians know that, right? They know. Warmington is by name and nature a warmonger who thrive on maintaining this divisiveness. His loyalty to Andrew Holness is unquestionable. In fact, he swore on a stack of Bible as to his support for Andrew Holness. And so when he goes in front of a microphone and start to talk about Bakra Master, and even before him, because the former, now departed minister of finance, right? Dr. Clark. It was a regular thing for him in the House of Representatives to refer to the opposition leader as Bakra Master. And so when Warmington and Cuthbert and Clark at that level, Warmington and Clark at the time are cabinet ministers, and for them to be using these racial epithets without any rebuttal from from the leadership of the party, it tell you that this is not a casual situation. This is a sort of a political strategy that is being utilized by the governing Jamaica Labour Party, and it is wrong. Now let me go further. Continuing Dr. Abrams' article, he says, while speaking at a political conference in November of 2022, Warmington delivered an incendiary, racially charged tirade against the opposition leader solely based on his skin color and ethnicity, even dragging his parents into the fray, asking where Mark Golding's mother and father come from. A white man from England, adding, where Freedom leader come from? Bakra Master. Now, earlier this year, Golding's ethnicity was again brought to the fore when his British-Jamaican dual citizenship, which is allowed by our constitution, was publicly scrutinized, and racial prejudice raised its ugly head again. While referring to Golding in a tweet, Juliet Cuthbert Flynn said, he can never be more Jamaican than any black Jamaican. I have more rights to this land where my great-great-grand chopped sugarcane in St. Thomas. Now, let me tell you something. I never know Sir Juliet Cuthbert was such a damn idiot, right? But again, as I said earlier, the fact that the party at its leadership level is not, responding in a way to tamp down these kind of utterances tells you. And the fact that the same kind of references are made at different levels at the different spectrums of the party says that it is an unspoken part of their electoral campaign strategy, right? Now, let me continue. Last week, the nastiness returned at a political meeting at the Tivoli Gardens High School in Kingston. Warmington picked up where he left off in 2022. During his latest onslaught, the uncouth MP offered these gems. Because this white man come, you say him can lead Jamaica. Over my dead body, we are descendants of slave. We don't want no descendant of no slave master come rule we again. It is better my dog bite me than the white man dog bite me. And this English white man, if he want to turn prime minister, go to England. Now, a few days later, at the party's annual conference, Cuthbert Flynn took to the platform to claim that Mark Golding, who she referred to as Marky British, is a man who believe in holding chains round the necks of black people, and that him take picture a whole chain round man neck, the Rasta man neck. Now, this repeated racially charged attack against Mark Golding, in the doc's opinion, in my opinion, and in the opinion, I would imagine, of any sensible, grounded Jamaican, must be reprehensible. I'm using these minutes of my program to address this issue because I believe that it is reprehensible. I believe that what we are doing here is weaponizing racism and bringing it into the politics. Now listen, I'm a 60-odd-year-old, 67 years old, and I grew up and lived in a Jamaica where my auntie lived from Metcalf Street off Spanish Town Road. And if me want to go look for her, I have to take a circuitous route, right? Me used to go look for another aunt in a Jonestown, and in a different time, we could have walked from Jonestown into Trenchtown and over to Eshadena, Maxfield Avenue. You can't do that again. There's a point in a time in Jamaica where that's impossible to do. Because if you put your foot cross certain border, Rima, around the soul, you are a dead soul, right? And all because of this kind of racial, divisive political practices that we sow the seeds of in those periods. And so here we are. Again, we're heading down this road. Because let me tell you something. There's more gun in a Jamaica than the JDF and the police have. And most of the people who have access to them gun, they are idiot, dunce, fool, right? Who, in the belief that their positions may be threatened, are in an effort to show support for the same bigots who are using those racial epithets, will go and do harm to other people, especially somebody who is identified as a target of the angst, right? Yes, we saw this in the time when Siaga was around. The PNP used the same racial approaches to give Siaga a hard time. It was wrong then, and it's even wronger now, right? You know, the fact that Siaga never born in Jamaica is immaterial. Siaga came to Jamaica, decided to get himself into the politics. So you can provide all kind of argument to support any the kind of negatives that throw at Siaga, right? My thing is you criticize a politician based on what he's supposed to do or not do, or based on his feelings, right? And so to take this thing down to race, remember, out of many, one people. That is what our motto says. And so when we start to take the kind of position, right? I mean, as I said, it was wrong to discriminate against Siaga because of his skin color. And what made it even more egregious is the fact that, you know, when one considers that Siaga, in spite of all of that, you know, made a significant contribution to the development of Jamaica, particularly in the areas of culture, right? And again, there are those critics who will have their argument to try to negate some of what I'm just saying. But the fact is, it is there for all to see if you choose to do the reading and the research. Siaga made a huge contribution. So it was nasty then. It is just as nasty, even nastier now. The accusations and the reasons given to disqualify Mark Golding have no rational basis, right? None that you can provide any serious reasoning to. And it basically just smacks of A, hatred, dishonesty, and absolute stupidity. It says that the people who are making those references, not only is it an indication of their own stupidity, right? It is also suggesting that they believe that the audience that they are speaking to are even more stupid than them to be able to buy into, to hold on to this kind of argument, right? It's the behavior is reprehensible, right? Mark Golding, born in Jamaica, right? The argument that him is the son of an enslaver, there's no basis, there are no facts to support that, right? It don't have no basis. Not all white people of British descent are descendants of enslavers. And there is no evidence that Golding is descended from any. If one was to look at Mark Golding's life, no evidence has come to light of him displaying any kind of racist mentality either. In fact, Mark Golding is married to a black woman, right? Black Jamaican woman. And even if he was descended from slave owners, right? What would be the relevance? What would be of relevance, rather, would be his attitude and his behavior today. In fact, as Michael Abrams said it in his article, one of our own national heroes, the Right Excellent George William Gordon, remember the name, you know? The Right Excellent George William Gordon was a direct descendant of a slave master, as his father, Joseph Gordon, was a white Scotsman who owned slaves. Same place in Jamaica, right? Gordon's mother, Anne Rattray, was a slave. But not only did Gordon not follow in his father's footsteps, he risked his life, right? Risked his life and eventually lost that life after he was hanged after being tried for high treason because he decided to stand up for poor black Jamaicans. Keep in mind that the very House of Parliament, that these absolute Don-Sass politicians are sitting down in, is named after the very same George William Gordon, right? So the slave master descendant argument that is being used against Golding is absolutely invalid. Golding no come from no slave owning family background. And Cuthbert Flynn's comment that Golding can never be more Jamaican than any black Jamaican, referring to our great-great-grandparents chopping sugarcane, is equally flawed and absolutely doubly, quadruply ridiculous, right? Jamaica's national motto, again, may I remind you, is out of many, one people, right? And it basically speaks to the ethnic and racial diversity of the Jamaican population. A white person such as Golding, who was born and raised in this country, is no less a Jamaican than any Jamaican belonging to any other racial group who had similar upbringing. And as for Cuthbert Flynn and our reference about our great-great-grandparents and their contribution to nation building, she need to go and do a little reading, a little study, right? And instead of using whatever she have in her head there, because your head is not just to wear hat and do a hairdo in it, our brain. Activate your brain and go do a little reading and research. The contribution that Mark Golding's father, right, made to Jamaica, particularly in the 1950s when the polio epidemic broke out. All when she and her grandparents born and grow over and dead and come back 100 times will never, ever equate to the contribution that John Golding, Professor John Golding, made to Jamaica as a non-Jamaican. This is a man who could have taken his skill, his expertise, and carried it elsewhere in the world where he would have been a multi-millionaire. But he chose to remain in Jamaica and set up the Mona Rehab Center to treat poliomyelitis and reduce the spread of this epidemic in Jamaica, because otherwise 3/4 of we would have walked with a drop shot, right? 3/4 of the Jamaican population would have been drop shot. So the comment that she make is not just stupid, it is asinine. Her latest claiming that Golding believes in holding chain around the neck of black people is just absolutely preposterous, right? It's not only preposterous, but mean-spirited, according to Dr. Abrams. She made reference to him taking a picture of him holding a chain around a Rastaman neck, but she never provided the context. And in everything, context is important. At a PNP political meeting, the Golding used a key to release a chain from around a man's neck. This was meant to symbolize Golding releasing Jamaicans from bondage, in his opinion. It may have been a kind of fool skit, if you will. And the fact that him put himself out there and make them take picture like that, he does bear some of the criticism because he set up himself for it. But it should be concerning to us, right? But even more so to that fellow laborites, particularly the party leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, have done nothing, have said nothing, has not called out neither Flynn nor Warmington for these vile utterances that they have made, right? And it should concern everyone away as Jamaican, right? That this kind of behavior is allowed to fly, right? The media is just as guilty. The media has allowed this, with the exception of the article published here by Dr. Abrams. Neither of the papers in Jamaica, none of the almost dozen radio stations has spoken to this issue. All these commentators are sitting down on their lips, their tongues, their thoughts, and they have, by virtue of their silence, give a pass, right? A green light to the continuance of this kind of behavior. When we begin to normalize this kind of behavior, that's when you realize that it's an indication of, it's a twofold indicator, right? The normalization of this kind of thinking says that as a people, we're gone. As the media, who's really the rails, the guardrails, who provide the guardrails, they are asleep at the wheel, right? It also says that only a side who don't have no ammunition, right, resort to these kind of utterances, because it's clearly you feel that maybe at some point, if the election bell ring, this same white man will bust on our ass, right? And so this is your way. This is your way of campaigning. It is disgusting. It is sleazy, right? It is reprehensible. And what makes it even more reprehensible is that the leadership of the political party has said absolutely jack squat about it, right? The church, nobody no say nothing. That's why I mean no go on a church, you know, because I waste of time that, right? That I just, all them do is to suck out your money. At least the politician them a little more honest with it, because by them, the nature of the position, you know, so them a thief, right? But the church who's supposed to be the guardrail, quiet like a mouse, nothing, nobody says anything. And so we continue with these references. Let us deal with Golden if you are a politician on the JLP side. Let's contest against him based on the issues. How is he addressing the issues in the favor of the Jamaicans with whom he wants to be representing, right? But you don't go down upon something like that. The man not responsible for where him born and him skin color, you know. What him responsible for is the job that he has accepted, the responsibilities he has accepted, and how he's doing that job. So deal with him in campaign mode on the basis of that, not on the man's skin color. Eh? Now, if the Jamaica Labour Party and its leadership, in particular its leadership, is unprepared to address these things, right? Because it is disrespectful. I feel disrespected as a Jamaican, not as no supporter of neither JLP or PIP, but as a Jamaican, that the political elected representatives of the country who sit down in the parliament of the country sees nothing wrong, right? And that's why when Mr. Man a big up Clark the other day when him jump over the fence and run Ghana, come America with a big job. Me no give him no ratings, because a man like that who actually benefit from a Rhodes Scholarship under the name of Cecil Rhodes, who murder millions of black people, thief away the wealth of countries like Rhodesia and name the place after himself, after him go there and thief for the country and thing. And in order to cleanse him name and him thing, him create this Rhodes Scholarship. No well-thinking person, right, who have any sense of them history or otherwise should accept a Rhodes Scholarship. You should, as black people, people of color, we should have make them disband that shit. Because what it is doing is Cecil Rhodes trying to whitewash him way back into the conscience of people of color whom he murdered. And so him, Clark, who is a recipient, who take that scholarship, right? Who have a choice. He took the skull and him wear it on him chest and upon everything. He is a Rhodes Scholar. He is a recipient of the worst demonstration of vile racism. And yet he was in the parliament of Jamaica. I refer to Mark Golding as Bakra. Who is worse Bakra? Think about that, right? Them things make me really ashamed of people who look like me, who we claim say we are Jamaicans, people who are supposed to be conscious, and this is the direction that we can go. All in the name of politics. Because, you know, look good in the polls, and so the way you want to do is to change the perception of Jamaicans into thinking that a man who is born among us, who walk amongst you, who choose, right? Who the electorate, one side of the electorate choose him. And you, by your utterances and references, is trying to tear him down, right? And the political leadership of the Jamaica Labour Party has said nothing. How do you then have any respect for Mr. Holdens? Eh? How can you? We as Jamaicans, right? We have Mr. Patrick Lehman. Let me say this here. If you are, this is not a page where you come with your political crap, because I spoke to that. I made it clear at the beginning of this discussion that when them did it to Sierra, it never right neither. And we should have learned from that. So you take your little political half brains, half wit, and come off of the program, right? Because this is what we need to run away from, you know. We need to get rid of this thing. We cannot build a country where we create this kind of divide against one another, right? So if you don't know, go research, go back and check out the program when the program done, and you will see. Listen, this man, me named Richard Blackford, I'm not afraid of, me not hide my talk, you know, Bridget. Because I don't care about the politics. I don't care about Siaga and Michael Manley and whomever else. Me not care. What me care about is Jamaica. And no one of us is stronger than all of us. And when we start to push this kind of divide, where we are trying to divide one another on the basis of race and all of that, what we are doing is that we are killing ourselves. We are killing our ability to grow as a country, right? We are killing ourselves. And so the epithet is reprehensible, and we need to move away from this. Jamaica have too much to offer for us to allow ourselves to be mired in these distractions, if you will, right? We have too much, far too much to give. You know, when we love talk about the comparison with Singapore and all of that. What people don't seem to realize that Singapore is 700 and must say what 730 square kilometers in terms of its area. Jamaica is 11 times bigger than Singapore. And when we started out together in the early 1960s, right, the Jamaican economy was on the same footing as Singapore. Today, the Singaporean economy is light years. In fact, the Singaporean national income, right, is 11 times that of Jamaica, right? So when we talk about things, we cannot afford to exclude any individual in Jamaica from being able to contribute to the development of our country. Black, white, green, blue, it don't matter, right? What we need to do is to bring everybody together so we can grow as a country, right? Only a fool would try to exclude people who can contribute to the country's development. Only a fool would choose to try to exclude them from that participation. It's like you take a gun and you put it at your head and fire the shot and expect say you everything all right. Right? We must do better. And the fact that somebody do it whenever ago, the fact that when it happened to Siaga, let me say it again, it was never right. The environment, that the thing is, right? The environment then, and we can argue that, but even what, regardless of what the environment was, it was never right at the time, right? And so we are now some 40, 50 years ahead of that, and we're still doing the same kind of crap. And then we wonder, why is it that only 30% of Jamaicans participate in the political process? Because people like Warmington and Cuthbert and others of their ilk turn people off. Maybe them do it deliberately, because the smaller the amount of people who are voting in an election, the easier it is for turn the election in your favor. We have to come away from that. Jamaica is not just about winning an election in a bridge. Jamaica is about creating a space where people can live and raise them family, right? And what leadership does, effective leadership does, is that it mobilizes and motivates everybody to move in the same direction, right? We have to do better than this, right? And Mr. Holness need to deal with Warmington. I see him did run him out of the thing one time and him claims him resign. But, you know, me don't know JLP politics go. Me don't really know about politics anyway. I can't barely even spell politics, right? Right? You know, me don't know. The point though is that we need to do a little bit better than this, right? We are bigger and better than this, right? We are. And so, you know, this fool again, Patrick Lehman, about the man I invest. Whichever place the man who invested money in a film thing. Now broke no line, now commit no crime. Right? That's the problem. We have bought into this narrative that you know is sold to us. Nobody takes the time to go and educate themselves about people. People run offshore accounts all over the world. Right? What you must do is if the action is illegal, we deal with it through the system, through there are channels to deal with that. And if that is not the case, if you don't know, go and find out. The problem is though, is that because we have this worshipping of our political masters, nobody is willing to stop and question some of the crap that they do. Worse, the utterances that they make. And so, you know, it is embarrassing, it is dishonest, it is disrespectful, it is a narrative that is dishonest to the rest of Jamaica. It is disrespectful to the image that Jamaica have across the world when we carry, you know, this kind of behavior as our political standard. And when Jamaicans who are supposed to know better decide to continue along this path, it says that we are in dark calm peace, right? Hopefully, common sense might, you know, surface. I admire Dr. You know, I absolutely admire Dr. Abrams for taking the time to pen this article. It is a view, the article expresses some views that I, for one, particularly share, right? We need to break away from this tribalism mode. I thought we had gone away from it. I came out of the 70s as a big young man, and it was divisive then, and you know, the maintenance of it only maintains the divisiveness, and a divided country can't go nowhere. Look at America, where we live. We're becoming the laughing stock of the world. But that's a whole different discussion for another program, you know. But let me get what you guys think. You know, listen, this is not about it's more than just politics. We have to start to look at what is best for Jamaica as a country. And again, I will say it, we cannot afford to exclude any Jamaican who can contribute to the development of this country from participation, right? It is wrong to do. It was wrong when we did it the first time back in the 1970s and well, in particular in the 1980s and the 1990s. It was wrong then. It even more wrong today. The world has changed, right? We live in a space now where the snap of a finger, a thought goes around the world in a millisecond, right? It speaks to the kind of development. And so have people who have a cell phone and who can be watching this presentation, this is an instrument that you can use for research. We need to do better than this, right? We need to call out stuff when we know say it wrong, right? Rather than mollycoddle it. And because we like the person who said we just sit on power more. Me, I don't know how to do that, right? And my thing is, if it's wrong, there are times when there, the Prime Minister makes some good steps. Me, I big him up because guess what? Him is the Prime Minister of Jamaica and I'm a Jamaican, right? And therefore I'm my Prime Minister. Now when him do crap, me will light him in his backside, same way. Because that are the way all me see life, right? And I wish more of us would be willing to just allow reason, operate from a position of reason, right? Let us forget about the name calling and the whatever, because at the end of the day, we run politics. Whoever win, listen, there was a time when the politics in Jamaica was based on ideology, leftist versus right wing thinking. Today, that is not the case. The two political gang them operate from a perspective of the same liberal capitalism, right? That's where we are. So it is really a question of, the group where you like more, one group you like them over the other one, right? So let us measure them based on not what them say only, but what them do, right? In the case of the opposition, what is it that you plan to do if you're looking to take over the reins of the country? In fact, that is going to be my next topic at our next thing. I want to look at, now that we have had the two parties have had their national conferences, them annual conferences, right? And so from all indications, it is full speed towards election, right? What is the difference now between the two? What is the justification from the PNP to seek political leadership of the country as opposed to the JLP? We want to have those discussions. Or what has the JLP done to change the fortunes of a majority of Jamaicans in the nearly 10 years that they have been in office? Because they can't complain on. They have been at the wheel for the nearly 10 years. And so we're going to take a look at that at our next discussion. Now, if you're on YouTube and you like the video, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the channel, because you're able to be a participant in discussions like this as we go forward. And more than anything else, let me get your feedback in the comment section. If you have not, again, done so yet, subscribe to the channel. And if you've been watching the video and you like the material, like the video and share with your friends. So for me, folks, it has been, just wanted to address this issue, the issue of racism and the bigotry that has seemed to be quietly creeping into Jamaican politics. Do you believe that this has any place in a modern Jamaica in the 21st century? And if so, do you agree that it is time that our political leadership, particularly within the JLP, address this issue because of the capacity this issue has to continue to take us back down the road where we are running away from, of this negative political divide and how it impacted Jamaica in the period of the 1970s and into the 1980s. That's it for me, folks. It has been a pleasure sharing with you. Yes, a little bit about monologue, but the issue is a burning one. And I think that we need to address this as Jamaicans, as one, right? Remember, no one of us is better than or greater than all of us. And on that note, I will leave you. Respect.